Good morning and welcome to Sunday School. We're going to call this one Parents Edition. Now, don't check out teens because I've got some important information for you in this message as well. But, I was just thinking, you all have been getting lots of Sunday school lessons from us week after week. And I don't know when the last time your parents have been in Sunday school is, or what kind of messages they've been getting to help them in the home. And so, of course, we don't just care about the teens, we care about the family and the parents, and we know that if things are going good at the home, a lot of times that transpires to things going good in the life of the teen. So I wanted to make this lesson something that would really, hopefully touch the heart of a parent or parents. And if you're not watching with your mom or dad right now, you should tell them, hey, Pastor Andrew says, I need to pause this and I need to bring you because you need to be part of this lesson as well. But before we jump into that, let me just give you some updates. I've got my wife here with me again after a few weeks of going solo with the lessons, so added a little bit of beauty back into the videos, a little bit of humor sometimes. I'm sure she'll come up with something funny to jab at me about. But we've been having a lot of fun the last, month and a half with our every other week Wednesday night service. Not really a service, but gathering out at the church. And we let them know this last Wednesday, if you didn't make it, that we do have an activity planned. In fact, I made the reservation. We're all set on August 22nd to go to Green Acres Canoe. That's actually not true. Non-canoe. Green Acres non-canoeing. Because right now, because of wanting to make sure everyone's got enough space, they are shutting down the canoeing and it's kayaking only. So if you've done this trip with us before, you have to take that into consideration. We are doing the 8-mile trip. It's supposed to take somewhere around 3 to 4 hours if we're just floating down the river, not to mention times where we get out and jump in the water and stuff. But if you're not confident that you can keep your canoe going straight, your kayak, see, she's here to keep me in line, then I'm not saying this trip's not for you. We'll be there to help with pointers to let you know, when your boat starts going one way, you got to do the paddle on the other side to correct it and stuff like that. But
what bugs me about the kayak is that my legs are trapped.
It's a little more open than what you think. The kayaks, there are not ones that you slip your legs into. It's actually an open kayak. Like you'll have your feet, in your legs. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure from looking at them in the past that's how it's been.
We're pretty sure.
The only thing is this. The only thing is this. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I'm trusting you.
The only thing is that unlike a canoe, there's not a lot of room for extra stuff. So they're not going to allow you to take big bags, like a big old backpack and coolers and stuff like that. Now, we can leave some of that stuff on the bus as far as dry clothes to change into and stuff when we get back. And you'll have something that you can kind of strap that, sack lunch. I told the teens Wednesday night, it's $35. And with that, we're taking a couple bucks and we're going to chip in and we're going to get little pre-made uncrustable, what do you call them things? The sandwiches, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, some chips, some other little snack goodies that you can come through and you can pack what you want, or you can bring your own. But do bring it in a school-worthy lunch bag that kind of zips closed. Don't bring the brown paper bag. That might not work out so well for you on a river trip. Okay, if it gets wet and starts opening up and you lose your food.
I'm just using
all over the river.
Freezer Ziplocs.
Well, yeah, but still put it inside of something that's not gonna open up and float away on you.
Wouldn't you want it to float if it did fall out?
Well, that's true, but I'm just saying you'd rather not have to chase down your food on the river, So hopefully it doesn't happen. But August 22nd, it's going to be all day. We're asking everyone to start showing up at 9:30. We're going to be checked in by 10. We want to be loading up on the bus and getting there. We made a reservation for 11 o'clock, so we want to get there in plenty of time for everyone to get checked in. I will have a packet available at the church.
Ooh, sorry.
So if you did not pick one up Wednesday night, we have several forms you need to read through with your parents and sign, especially if your parents aren't coming with, so that when we get down there, everything is good to go as far as their release, our release, a whole COVID-19 disclaimer waiver type thing. So that's the first thing we're really excited about. We're doing it on the 22nd because this is the weekend that we're looking forward to as our back to Sunday school weekend. Okay, so this is something fun to do right before we hopefully get a lot of you coming back to Sunday morning at FBT. So we will be back upstairs, junior high and senior high, on the 23rd. I've been looking over a series with our men in the class, the other youth leader guys that teach, and we're going to be actually going through something that I think will be very interesting and hopefully helpful to you as well for our first several weeks back. And we're going to mix it up. We'll talk to you more about that next week. I'll get the other guys involved in our Sunday school video, but we're going to mix it up each week, so you're not going to know from one week to the next who's going to be leading and the discussion and the lesson and everything for that week. But it'll be just something interesting for you to look forward to. We'll bring back donuts and find a way to make that work where you guys can come in and grab your donut and your
We'll probably serve them.
Milk, yeah, and then have a seat. We'll make sure all of our seats are spread out, everyone's comfortable. Probably not going to have a lot of activity in the classroom early on as far as doing crazy stuff. It'll be pretty chill on Sunday morning. So that's really it. Just looking forward to seeing you all hopefully a little bit more. In regards to the buses, that's still on pause. I'm going to say it right now. Those probably will not be running on August 23rd, but hopefully within a couple weeks after that, we'll start running the buses again. All right, so our lesson today, let's begin by looking in God's Word, and we're going to look at Mark chapter 3, and I'm going to read verses 24 through 27 as a lead into this lesson that I say is for parents, but also something that I think teens need to pay attention to, okay? Mark 3, and verse 24 says, "And if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. And if Satan rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand, but hath an end. No man can enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods, except he will first bind the strong man, and then he will spoil his house." So, just as a point of context in this passage, in this passage here, it's going through this time where Jesus is basically healing people, not only healing people, but casting demons out of people. And some of the religious leaders of the day who didn't respect Jesus and didn't think that he was the Messiah, didn't believe he was the Son of God, questioned him and basically accused him and said, hey, this power that he has, or this power that you have, we think it comes from Beelzebub. We think it comes from Satan. And, that might be all well and fine if all he was doing was turning water into wine and walking on water and giving people food and stuff like that. But when it comes to the fact that he is actually casting demons out and freeing people from bondage and from their sins and healing their broken bodies, paralyzed people and blind people, he basically makes a point and says, you believe that this comes from Satan? Why is Satan working against himself? No one that's divided, nothing that's divided can stand. And so it's a great context for us to look at the family and the home. I like the last verse that talks about how no one can enter into a strong man's home and spoil his goods. I look at this figuratively as the fact that Satan wants to take our homes and really just destroy them and break them down. And he can't come into a home where there's a strong foundation, a strong man. When mom and dad are growing in the Lord and they have a unified front, when it comes to raising their children and making decisions in the home, it's harder for Satan to do his work. But if he can get mom and dad and the house, in disorder, and everyone's upset at each other and frustrated and in disagreement and disunity, then he can come after what's vulnerable, what us as parents are going to be protecting, and that's our children, and making sure that they have a strong foundation in life. So today we're looking at 5 reasons that unity between a mom and a dad is so important in the home. So again, this is important for mom and dad today. It's important for you as teens to listen up, because you play a part in this as well, because really this lesson is all about you. And maybe there's a part of this that is your fault when it comes to frustration in the home, that you're doing things that you shouldn't be doing, and maybe mom and dad need to hear about how they can have more unified decision-making skills, okay? So if you've ever said yes when your spouse has said no, then you probably understand the importance of having unity in your decision making in homes. Unity between parents is so important as far as just having a strong message of we're together on this. Don't try to turn us against each other, play us against each other. You know, a lot of teenagers and kids have all played that game of, if I can't get what I want from mom or dad, then I'm gonna go to the one that I think I can get it from. Okay, so this is important in the life of a home where you have mom and dad, but it's also important in homes where maybe mom and dad are divorced and separated, and maybe where you now have a broken or a blended family in home. And it's so important that even in a situation where a divorce has taken place and mom and dad are no longer living under the same roof, if they're still playing a part in that child's life, it's important for you, even though you maybe couldn't have made it work together in your relationship as far as marriage goes, that you recognize that as parents, you still want to have a unified message in how you raise your child. You still need to communicate, hopefully in a healthy manner, when it comes to the decisions and choices and the discipline that your child is getting. You don't want to get to the place in your life where you're pitting one another against each other and making your child choose, you know, which one they like better or who their favorite is. So I was benefited from the fact that my parents have never divorced. They're still together. We just celebrated 20 years of marriage. My parents just celebrated 48 years of marriage. And, you know, it wasn't perfect growing up. We had issues, you know, being one of 8 kids, there was always some kind of chaos going on. But I remember there was a time as a teenager that I knew if I wanted to get a favorable response, like going over to a friend's house to stay the night or just going out to hang out with my friends, I would usually seek out my dad first. I would usually go to him and find out if I could go. And there was a time or two where I would, you know, get dad's okay and be off, you know, friends come over, I take off, whatever, and then later on, you know, face the music of, hey, you didn't tell me that your mom said that you needed to get the dishes done and your other chores done before you could go, you know. So then I'd get in trouble for that, all right? And probably my dad kind of got in trouble for that too when it came to
Probably.
discussions with mom. And so, you know, my dad kind of wisened up a little bit, and there was time.
What did your mother say?
Well, I probably
got
got extra like chores to do to make up for my, you know, deceitfulness. But, you know, my dad also not wanting to be on the hot plate, he wisened up, and so whenever I would ask, he'd say, are your chores done? You know, and I'd say, yeah. You get your homework done? You know, and that'd be one thing. But then again, my dad wasn't always home. He was the main breadwinner. My mom was home a lot, and so she dealt with a lot more than just that. She knew that if there was arguing going on during the course of the day or disagreement and fights with my brothers and sisters, and so sometimes, you know, I'd be in trouble, and it wasn't just a matter of having stuff done.
You'd think she'd want to just let you go.
Yeah, probably at times she did. But, you know, parenting is difficult.
Tempting.
Sometimes you do things not for the benefit of yourself,
Right,
but for the benefit of your child, and know they're grounded and they can't do anything. They have to stay home, and you just have to deal with their grumpy old sourpuss face and attitude. So yeah, when my dad ultimately, you know, stopped me from coming to him to get the easy answer, his default was, go talk to your mom and ask her first, you know, or I'm gonna go talk to your mom and ask her first. So in kind of thinking about all that, does this kind of thing happen in your homes? You know, parents or teen, are you that one that kind of works, you know, your mom or your dad to try to get your way? I think it happens a lot. Here's the question: what do you do as parents to maintain unity in the home? So, what do you think? What do we do as parents to maintain unity in our home?
Well, I think it's important to kind of have an understanding about how you're going to handle things before the thing comes up. And also, I think it's important to, if you don't have all the information, get the information from your child, and then don't discuss what you're going to do in the process of how you make your decision in front of them. I know sometimes we will say, okay, give us a few minutes to talk about this.
Go to your room.
Go to your, or, you know,
We have a talk.
Well, we have a talk, and then we'll let you know our decision. And a third thing I think is if one of us decides something that the other one maybe wasn't there to take part in the discussion, and the other one doesn't agree, it's important to not disagree in front of your child.
Yeah.
I mean, later on you can say, you know, I think you should have handled it this way, or next time we should handle it this way.
Yep. We're going to talk a little bit about that too with these things. So
that's what I think.
You know, it's not always easy. Parenting is one of those things that, you know, if you realize all the troubles that you might be dealing with as your child goes through different stages, and especially as teenagers, beforehand, maybe you wouldn't have had kids to begin with. But, you know, thankfully we all, you know, if you're here today, you've got your kids and you're thankful for them. It's worth the reward, you know, the benefit of having your child and hopefully seeing them be successful in life. But there's several reasons to pursue unity in parenting. And so we'll go through those and try to get through them, you know, somewhat quickly. But number one, unity helps both parents build strong relationships with their kids, because your goal for you and your child is long term is that you both want to have a good relationship with them. And so what you have to be careful of in parenting is something that I think we're all too familiar with, and maybe some of us have tried to implement this tactic in our parenting, but it is good cop, bad cop. Okay?
Yeah.
And
guess which one I am mostly.
Well, here's the thing though. If that's actually your approach to parenting, where one of you is the good guy and one of you is the bad guy, good cop, bad cop, then one of you is always losing in the eyes of your child. You know, you're pitting yourselves against each other and making it to where your kids want to come to one of you versus the other. And so, you know, another way of putting it is, who is the disciplinarian in your home? Okay? If you can definitely point to one or the other and say, oh, that person takes care of the discipline, and I do, you know, the cooking and the cleaning, and I pack their lunches and all this stuff, but it's his job or her job to take care of the discipline, that's not a united front. That's not a good approach. You know, here in our home, I believe that it's important that we both share in the discipline of our child, and we share in pretty much a lot of the other things too. You know, my wife might be here to do more of the cooking and cleaning, but you know, there comes a day once a week at least where I have to jump in and help out with those tasks too. We all, you know, pitch in together. We're part of it. We're a team. So the good cop, bad cop thing, it can really pose a problem long term to the health of your relationship with your child. If you're that person that's not viewed as the good parent or the fun parent, or you know, the one who is my friend, you don't want to do that. You don't want to play that game with your kids. You don't want to go behind each other's back. And you know, when your child comes to you for something, let's say my daughter comes to me and says, hey, I want to do this with my friends and I need $20. You know, if I want my child to learn, you know, the value of money and worth, and you say, okay, well, fine. This is some things that I want for you to do as far as to help out to earn that money here around the house. Okay. Now that might not be something your kid wants to hear, but don't be that other parent that goes behind your child's back and just says, here you go, you can have your $20. Don't worry about, you know, because you're not helping yourself out. You might be winning some points with your kids, but you're going to be fighting some battles because of that later on. I mean, would you agree?
Yeah, but with our kid, she probably already has $20.
Yeah. Well, she's pretty good at saving her money when she gets stuff. So we don't even give her allowance or anything like that. There's a lot of people that are very kind towards her. So, all right. So we both, you know, as parents, we should both benefit from the good choices and decisions we make when it comes to our child. And at the same time, if we blow it, then it should be viewed as, you know what, mom and dad, you know, we messed up. We should have not made that decision. You know, just take the credit together, take the blame together, be united in that way. Okay. Unity, number 2, helps cultivate respect for both parents, because there can be disagreements, but disunity will lead to disrespect of authority ultimately. So what I'm talking about here is kind of something that I look at as maybe just being transparent, something that I have to be careful of as a husband, and just how I relate and deal with, my wife, first of all, but also the mom of my child, is that, in every family there tends to be one that is a little bit more of the alarmist, and...
Are you starting this off, like, in a bad way?
No, not at all. I'm just saying there's one that, kind of says, hey, okay, I have a problem with this. This is, and, there's always one that's kind of I'm more laid back, and there's been times where...
I'm the alarmist.
You're the
okay,
alarmist.
Just making sure I understand.
You're the alarmist. It's okay. Don't be alarmed. But I realize that there are things that I have done as a husband that have also influenced my daughter's attitude towards my wife as her mom. Whereas, when Cole's frustrated about something or upset, and I kind of have this dismissive attitude of like, no, it's not a big deal, you're blowing it out of proportion, calm down, you're crazy, all that kind of stuff, and that's a kind of a message that my daughter gets. Then, whenever, you're blowing up at DJ about something because your frustration, she's not maybe taking it as like, okay, I messed up. It's kind of like,
Mom,
oh, Mom, you're just
calm down,
overreacting to the whole situation. Just just calm down. And so I see that. I've caught that here just recently, and I have to be very adamant with my daughter sometimes that she is going to listen to her mom, even if she thinks that she's not in her right mind. Okay, it's like I'm at the point where I was like, listen, I don't care if she tells you to put your nose in the corner, to flap your wings like a chicken, and to bark like a dog. You better do what she tells you to do, or you're gonna be in trouble. Okay.
I never told her to do those things.
No. In fact, that's probably when Diesel would look at me and be like, okay, I thought Mom's the crazy one, you're apparently the crazy one. But the point is that, you gotta have each other's back. And if as a parent, again, even if there's a disagreement, go talk about it in private and deal with it as a team later on. But, the message should be, hey, if your dad, if your mom is not telling you to do something that is wrong, then your obligation and duty is to obey, okay? Obviously, we want you to obey with the right attitude, and that's a whole other topic. But obedience is the first key, okay? So unity helps cultivate respect for both parents. It's easier for your child to respect you as a united front versus, being divided. Then they're going to play you against each other. Moving on?
Yes.
Okay. Number 3, unity of parents. You're going to need this in a little bit because you're going to turn to Proverbs for me. Okay. Unity of parents helps build character in your child, okay? All children, they say, like with water kind of, works its way and finds its way to the lowest level. Well, children also gravitate to the path of least resistance, the same way as water would, go down the path of least resistance. So, like me going to my dad about things instead of going to my mom, because my mom, it's going to be like, did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? Dad's like, sure, go have fun. Okay, what am I going to choose? So we have to be on board and be communicating with one another. And so if your kids can manipulate you, one or the other, to get their way, it encourages them to work at beating the system and getting around the things, that are in their way, versus encouraging and building character into their life. Okay, and that's not what we want for our kids. We don't want them to worm their way out of things. Okay, this whole stuff's going on right now with our country, and people losing their jobs is horrible, and our government is doing what it can to help people that really need the help, right? But right now we've got a lot of people, including some of our young workforce, that have realized, hey, I'll do better sitting home and doing nothing and collecting unemployment than going to work and putting in an honest day's work and having in that kind of integrity. That's not what we want for our country ultimately. It's not what we want for our kids. We want them to be hardworking. We want them to be contributing and benefiting to society. Okay, so we have to raise them up with the right kind of ethics and values, and that happens a lot of times with parents in the home teaching their children character, not letting them get away with stuff by manipulating us. So Proverbs 22:6 is a great verse, a reminder for us as parents. Go ahead and read that.
It says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it.
All right, so we want to make sure that we have a united front in training our children in the way they should go, and teaching them that they're not going to get one thing out of one parent more than out of the other, that they need to respect that we are, together going to, hopefully have the same message, the same decision. But when a couple is united on tough decisions, such as on issues of discipline, it's a huge one, okay? Especially if you happen to be one of those, blended or broken families that have kind of come together, and now as a family, you are raising children that are not ones that you brought into the world, okay? It's just a byproduct of your marriage. You have to really work hard at agreeing on how you're going to raise, them in ways of discipline, and teaching them the virtues like honesty and integrity, because you want the benefit that you have a child that has character in their life and integrity.
But you also have to remember too that if you've got more than one child, you may have to approach discipline differently with
Right.
different kids.
Right.
What works for one may not work at all for the other child. So you kind of gotta find a balance there
Right. It's definitely true.
without looking unfair.
Yeah.
You know.
And we're
I
gonna
mean, my
read.
parents disciplined my brothers differently than me,
Right.
or my brothers differently than my sister, just because,
Yeah.
we were different.
Like, sometimes it requires a swat on the hiney, and sometimes it requires, you know what? You're not going to talk to your friends. I'm taking your phone away.
Right.
One thing's going to affect, for me growing up, it was like, no, don't take my video games away.
Just give me a spanking.
Yeah, please spank me. Then parents like, no, we're not giving you that this time around.
Right.
Okay. So speaking of that, Proverbs 22:15 is another verse here.
Okay, it says, foolishness is bound in the heart of a child, but the rod of correction shall drive it far from him.
All right, so I was talking to a parent today as me and Jeremy were making visits, and the discipline thing came up. And he said, man, I don't know, raising kids today, it's not like when we were kids. If we talk back to our parents or doing something, they just smack us, or get a branch and take it across our, rear end and stuff like that.
That happened to me.
And he said,
I got the branch.
today he's like, all we can do is just tell our kids to go stand in the corner and put them on timeout. And I'm just like, no. I mean, I understand what society says, and culturally some things aren't as accepted as they were, such as abusing your kids, okay?
Nothing that's ever been acceptable, but
no, but I mean,
but today's
I think about-
definition of abuse
I
might
think-
be different than 20 years ago.
I think about how, my
50
parents
years
said
ago.
they were dealt with, and I'm thankful that even though I got a whole lot.
Me too.
Put it this way, the rod of correction was very real in my life, okay? Or as someone say, the board of education, okay? I had the board of education exercised on my seat of knowledge often.
I can count on one hand the number of spankings I got as a kid.
I can tell you the last spanking that I got. And this is one of those things, again, parents, when you decide, when is the limit, okay? My dad put me in check one time because he gave me a swat, a good one, when I was 17 years old. And I mean, it was a matter of I hadn't had one in a couple of years.
And you were
But
due?
I was fighting with my younger sister Rebecca. I was 17, she was like 8. But she knew how to get under my skin like nobody else in my family. And I don't know if I pushed her or I smacked her or whatever I did. I took matters into my own hands for her antagonizing me. And basically my dad's just like, you know what? You are not, going to get away with that. And he could have grounded me from something, but he wanted to humble me in that circumstance.
Will he use his belt?
I don't remember.
You don't remember?
I think it was the
I
paddle.
would have remembered.
I think he pulled out old trusty oak 2-inch thick paddle, and
I remember the one time my dad spanked me, I cried so bad. I think he felt bad. He never hit me again.
Oh.
Thank you, Dad.
But here's the gist of it. You can still discipline your child as the Bible, God's word and instruction for us, tells us is acceptable. And if you do it with the right attitude as a parent, and your child knows that you love them, okay, they're not going to be calling CPS on you, okay? They're going to understand that they've done wrong, and that you've been instructed as their parent to correct them. They might not agree with it, but I never thought about doing that with my parents. I usually realized that I deserved it. I didn't like it, but you gotta love your kids.
He probably did.
Yeah, my dad did love me. He probably would have killed me if he didn't love me, honestly. So, all right. Number 4, unity models healthy marriage dynamics for your kids. Conflicts happen in every relationship, but when we handle those conflicts in a healthy manner, it really does demonstrate to our teens, especially as they are getting into these relationships where they're taking interest in thinking about not just someone they're dating, but possibly future marriage and things like that. Maybe not as a 13-year-old, but maybe as a 17, 18-year-old. Your relationship with each other demonstrates to them hopefully what they need and are aspiring for in their relationship, and that's something that they're working towards. And so that's why it's so important for us to model that with our kids, is because we are not just building our home and our families, but we're also contributing to the foundation of what will one day be their home and their family and their marriage relationship. So even if we don't always agree with our spouse, backing each other up shows our kids that we respect and we love one another. And that is something that, even if it's not something that rules in their favor, where you're teaming up against them and saying, this is why you're wrong, this is why you're being disciplined, you're in trouble, later on down the road they look back and they will remember that how much they admire the fact that you were together in that decision.
Just done right and in love, for sure.
Yeah. And if you're not sure about your spouse's feelings about a specific matter or circumstance, and you're in a situation where you're dealing with something, it's not a problem to tell your child, your teenager, hey, I'm going to talk to mom or dad, I'm going to get back to you on that one, okay? Or, like my dad did, how about you go check in with your mom first, see what she says, and then come back to me and we'll talk about it.
I think one thing that I think we've tried to do, but I've tried to do, I don't know about you, but is if our daughter comes to me and wants something or wants to do something or go somewhere, maybe someone's asked her, and if she needs an answer right then and I'm not sure about it, then the answer is no.
Yeah.
I know it sounds kind of harsh, but I mean, if it's something more than just something really minor,
Yeah.
if I want to talk to you about it and I can't get a hold of you, and she's like, Mom, I have to know right now, well, then the answer is no.
Yeah. It's very helpful also when, I will put it this way, when you coach me, through a certain situation
Like
with a phone call, and you say,
Oh.
now this is something that I've talked about with DJ, and if she approaches you about it, this is what I've told her.
Oh, yes.
This is what's going on. So
Getting ahead of the game.
It's very good to kind of see that,
I hate that I have to do that too. It bugs me, but
yeah, it's just, well, it's like bedtime routine,
she's
right?
gonna watch this.
You don't always want to be the one that's saying you got to do this and this and this and this. So
Don't give away our secrets.
Sometimes you say, all right, you be the one this time that reminds her that she needs to do this and this and this.
She's gonna watch this.
I know, but she knows we're a team. So.
I know. Don't give away all of our secrets.
All right, last thing, gone a little long here. Number 5, family unity now builds a stronger marriage for later. How you as a parent come together now will shape and affect how you live and love and respect one another later on in life, when your kids have moved on and they're out of the house. And so if you allow the parenting years, if you will, to be filled with all kinds of divisive decision making and frustration at one another, and one person just finally saying, I don't care, fine, you make the decision, and you just kind of cave, that kind of frustration in parenting will often divide you to the point where in the end you might only be staying together as a family because of the sake of the kids. And how sad is that, to think about the fact that the only thing that really brings you together is your child, and if it wasn't for that child, then maybe you would go your own separate ways. When you have that kind of discord and those arguments and putting each other down and dismissing one another, you're chipping away at your future. you're making it, your relationship beyond your parenting years, difficult for you to be able to look forward to something to enjoy and to have afterwards. And that's kind of a concern of mine, because I've seen couples that have divorced after 25, 30 years of marriage. Once they've raised their 1 or 2 or 3 children and they've gone on to college, they've called it quits. And how sad. Not just that they couldn't make it work for them, they think they've done a good thing in bringing their children up and getting them out of the house, but the kids look back at their parents' marriage and say, how much of that was real? Like, what was I believing in a lie? Like, everything they were telling me, they didn't love each other in the end. And so just a couple things here as we close out today in this lesson. I just want to kind of, one thing for the parents, one thing for the teens. As parents, we are laying a foundation not only for our family, but the future marriage and family of our kids. And we want to make sure that we're doing the best we can together to be unified, because we want them to have an easier go when they get together with their future spouse and have to make these kind of critical decisions. How are they going to determine to do that? Are they going to fight in the same way they saw us fighting and arguing and bickering? Or are they going to try to say, hey, I don't remember my parents having a lot of yelling or screaming matches. They handled a lot of that stuff behind closed doors. I didn't see it. And so I just challenge you in that regard, parents. And then teens, this is important for you too, because you're older, you're wiser, you've learned your parents. Maybe in some ways you've learned them better than they've learned you, okay? And I want to challenge you in this way. Don't let Satan use you to be a disruptive force in your family. Don't let Satan use you to be divisive and to pit your parents against each other. While it may in some ways feel like you're getting something out of that when you have a favorite that you can go to and get what you want to, man, that's no way to set your future for yourself. I mean, I remember when I was dating my wife, I very much looked forward to the first time that I got together to meet her parents. Not only just because I wanted to see how they were, but I wanted to see how she interacted with them, and it meant a lot to me as a potential future spouse to see how much respect that she would have for her parents specifically. I wanted to see how much she respected her father, because in the same way that I knew she could respect his leadership, I was hoping that she would also one day respect my leadership. I think the same thing is true for you. You probably wanted to see how I interacted with my family, whether or not,
I was just worried about them hating me or not.
Well,
I'm sorry, I'm being honest. I mean, yeah, the other part later, but
yeah,
I was too nervous.
So one final passage here to look up. You got Ephesians?
Yeah.
Ready to go? Mm-hmm. Ephesians chapter 6, verses 1 through 3. This is for you, teens.
Okay, it says, children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor thy father and mother, which is the first commandment with promise, that it may be well with thee, and thou mayest live long on the earth.
All right, so there you have it from God, honor, obey. That's important for you as a teen. That'll help maintain the unity in the home from your perspective. Hopefully your parents will work on these other things to make things good for you as far as a foundation for your future relationships. All right, let's close in prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for our time in your word, and just I pray that as you put it on my heart this week to not only have something for the teens, but to have something for the whole family, Lord. Be with parents. We all need wisdom in raising our kids, because we love them, because we want what's best for them, Lord, because we want peace in our homes. And Lord, I just pray that any families that are struggling right now, that you would bring them together in unity and just help heal the brokenness that might be a part of the past. We love you, Lord. We thank you for your word and for its truths and for how it shows us the way we should go in life. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Have a good week. See ya, hopefully, Sunday at church. Bye.